Good evening. The September 27, 2022 Carmel Clay School Board regular session meeting is now called to order. Roll call, Madam Secretary.
Thank you, Madam Vice President. Everyone is here except for President Katie Browning, who is unable to attend.
All right, Katie, you're missed. All right, let's please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
We will now move on to the presentation portion of the meeting. Tonight, we will recognize the College Board National African American Recognition Program Scholars and the College Board National Hispanic Recognition Program Scholars. I would like to invite Carmel High School College Counselor, Mrs. Melinda Steppen, to the podium to present our program scholars. And Dr. Tim Ferris.
Yes, I'm not the staff. Thank you, Dr. Beresford and members of the board. Thank you for having us here this evening. On behalf of the entire CHS faculty, it is my pleasure here to recognize our CHS students who have earned academic honors from College Board National Recognition Programs. These programs recognize underrepresented students who have excelled on the PSAT exam and or have earned a 3 or higher on 2 or more AP exams. All who are recognized have earned a 3.5 GPA or higher. Job well done. Eligible students are invited to apply for the National African American, National Hispanic, or National Indigenous recognition during their sophomore or junior year, with the aim of helping them to both connect with colleges and stand out academically as talented applicants during the admission process. At this time, I would like to introduce to you these very impressive students. Awardees, as you please come forward, when Mrs. Steffen reads your name, we will congratulate you for a job well done. Everybody at Carmel High School is extremely proud of you. Keep up the good work. You still have more work to do. Does not stop tonight, but we are proud of the work that you've done and look forward to your academic continued success.
Dr. Beresford and members of the board, I am extremely excited to introduce to you our College Board National Recognition awardees. I am going to read them in alphabetical order because it makes it easier for them to know when they're next. Receiving the African American Recognition Award is Israel Adenasimi. Receiving the Hispanic National Recognition Award is Peter Arroyo. Receiving the African American National Recognition Award is Kawani Asefa. Receiving the African American National Recognition Award is Gabi Bradley. Receiving the African American Recognition Award is Valeria Colmenares Leiva. Receiving the African American Recognition Award is Zion Daniel. Receiving the Hispanic Recognition Award is Chloe DeLeon. Receiving the African American Recognition Award is Sharon Dosumu. Receiving the African American Recognition Award is Marley Fowler. Receiving the African American Recognition Award is Ava Kilpatrick. Receiving the Hispanic Recognition Award is Sage Lowe. Receiving the Hispanic Recognition Award is Antonios Nicolau. Receiving the African American Recognition Award is Michaela Phillips. Receiving the Hispanic Recognition Award is Joshua Pachik. Receiving the Hispanic Recognition Award is Martina Cajo. Receiving the African American Recognition Award is Kwamina Quist. Receiving the Hispanic Recognition Award is Gabriela Rosa. She may go by Gabby, but I don't want to assume anything. Receiving the National Hispanic Recognition Award is Gloria Sanchez. Receiving the Hispanic Recognition Award is Samuel Teak. Receiving the African American Recognition Award is Abi Uche Ejeku. And these are your College Board National Recognition Program awardees. Please join me in congratulating them.
Congratulations. We are so excited for you. I know I was smiling ear to ear. I am just so incredibly proud of your accomplishments. And I am just looking forward to continuing to see your impact on our Carmel community and beyond. We are going to take a quick pause for the cause. Many of you students, or if not many, all of you have school tomorrow, so we want to honor that by allowing you the time to depart if you need to. You're welcome to stay, though. It's going to be a pretty exciting meeting. All right. We will now move on to public comment. Next, the public comments portion of our meeting shall be guided by the rules noted in the handout everyone received this evening under the public comment guidance heading. Per board bylaws, speakers will be placed in group 1 or group 2. Those in group 1, which consist of CCS students, CCS parents, guardians, CCS employees, and Carmel residents, will be permitted to speak first, followed by participants in group 2. The order of speakers will be determined by a random drawing. The numbers will be placed in the basket by Dr. Ostrike, my partner in fun. We will call out 2 numbers at a time, which I believe we have 2 today. So the first will speak and the second will be on deck. When your name is called, please go to the microphone and state your name for the record. Remember, you have 3 minutes to speak. We have a timer at the podium so you can gauge your time. And we have slated 30 minutes for public comment, and the countdown time will be on the screen. We want to thank the public for participating. Dr. Ostrike, I think now is your time to shine. Go ahead and roll the balls, and I will announce the first and second speaker.
All right, Mrs. Jackson, we have ball number 2 first, followed by ball number 1.
All right. Ball number 1 is Greg Brown.
Ball number 2 is first.
Yeah, that's what I mean. This is number 2. So it's Greg, and then on deck will be Chloe Stevenson.
Good evening. Is this on? Hello?
Yep, please state your name.
Yeah, my name is Greg Brown. I'm a candidate for the Carmel Clay School Board running in District 3. I've attended most of the regular board meetings and workshops since December of 2021 with the purpose to understand the process, the current undertakings, the current issues, and to become familiar with the roles of the board and the administrative staff. And today I wish to provide a couple comments in a very short allocated 3 minutes, which is tight for me, that come to my mind from the last workshop held last Monday, September 12th. After a presentation, one of the board members offered this statement directed at the board candidates, of which there were 3 present. And what was said to us was, I have to step on my soapbox and say, if you're running for school board with a vendetta or some kind of agenda that does not lend yourself to having an inquiry-based mindset, the same thing that we require of our students, I would ask to think again whether this is the place for you. At least 2 of us that were in attendance that were board candidates were surprised by the comment, and I found it to be rather intimidating. And I would also go so far as to say that it appears to be in violation of the recent policy that was put in place on civility and decorum that you require of the public. Which leads me to my second comment. It was during the same meeting, the 2023 budget presentation, during that presentation, it was noted that Carmel Clay Schools has experienced a 3-year historic reduction in enrollment. The word historic was used by the administration. The reason given was it might be reflective of the high home values in Carmel, which could be preventing families from moving here. And this seems to be counterintuitive, as Carmel is considered to be one of the hottest real estate markets in the nation. And homes have not stayed on the market for very much time at all. What I'm hearing as a candidate from my canvassing to families over the last year is that many parents have decided to homeschool or to find other alternatives to public schools. The waiting lines at these other schools are growing. Have we asked the question of these parents as to why they have decided to pull their children out of Carmel's schools? Public schools are an extremely desirable option for many reasons that we know, so this is a very difficult reason or decision to make. And we moved here 28 years ago because of the schools, and almost every parent I've talked to and family have said the same reason why they're here. It's a wonderful school system, and it's done just great over the years. But here, one common concern is the lack of diversity and inclusion in the in thoughts and values, and we need to be careful that this does not become the culture of the schools. The nation's flourished since its founding, partly due to its ability to allow for freedom of expression and a healthy, robust public debate of ideas. We must preserve and facilitate and encourage this type of respectful discourse. And we do not want to see segregation based on our thoughts and ideas leading to divisiveness. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you, Greg Brown. Next on deck is Chloe Stevenson, or Stevenson.
Good evening. My name is Chloe Stevenson, and I am here today to talk about dress codes. Okay. I have a reason to believe that my school's dress code is unfair, victim blaming, and it is shaming young women about their bodies. Women are made to feel insecure and upset. We should be able to wear crop tops and shirts that don't cover our shoulder. Stomachs and shoulders are normal, and showing them should not be a bad thing. This is sexualizing women and is not okay. If it is hot, we should be able to wear clothes that keep us cool. If people cannot control themselves due to the sight of shoulders and stomachs, then they should not be responsible for controlling. They should not be around us. Women are not sexual objects. From as early as 10 years old, we are treated like them. Times have changed, and so should our dress codes. I have been dress coded twice wearing this exact crop top, which shows a mere barely an inch of my stomach. That is not something to be ashamed of, and that is something that should be normalized and should be fine wearing in a school.
Thank you, Chloe. I believe that will conclude the opportunity for public comment, and all who have signed up have had the opportunity to speak. So next on the agenda is consent. Do I have a motion to approve consent items?
So moved.
Do I have a second? Well, thank you, Layla. Do I have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Jennifer. Is there any discussion? No? Okay. If not, then let's proceed. Yep. Okay, we'll now vote. All in favor signify by saying aye. Any opposed? Yes? Okay.
I was just voting.
Oh, okay. All right. Any opposed? Motion, wait, do I need to? Okay, motion carries. Dr. Ostrike, do you have a special announcement?
Yes, good evening, Madam Vice President Jackson, Dr. Beresford, and members of the board. I'm very excited to share that with the passing of the consent agenda, that Mrs. Jen Brown has just been approved as the new assistant principal at Prairie Trace Elementary School. Jen's with us tonight there in the second row. And wanted to also let you know that don't worry, Mr. Chard Reed is still with the district. He is transitioning to our work-based learning capstone coordinator at the high school, where he will be the perfect fit to cultivate community partnerships and opportunities where our students will thrive. A little bit more about Jen. She has over 17 years of experience as an elementary classroom teacher, a special education teacher, an elementary literacy coach, and most recently as the instructional coach at Prairie Trace Elementary School here in Carmel. She was named Teacher of the Year at Cedar Elementary with Avon Schools back in 2012, and Jen prides herself on being an instructional leader that focuses on developing and maintaining a culture of continuous learning to maximize teacher and student growth. Mrs. Brown earned her bachelor's degree from Indiana University in Bloomington in elementary education, and she earned her master's degree in education administration from Butler University. Mrs. Brown is a Carmel resident and a Carmel mom to her 2 boys that attend Smoky Row Elementary School, Ty and Cade, who are with us tonight. And also, she's joined by her husband, Darren, and her principal, Mrs. Piper. We're very excited. Congratulations, Jen, and we know that you will be outstanding in your new role.
Congratulations. Happy to have you. We will now move on to our public hearing portion of the meeting. At this time, moving on to the hearing, we are going to suspend the regular board meeting and open 3 public hearings to allow for public input regarding the proposed 2023 budgets, the 2023 capital projects plan, and the 2023 bus replacement plan. On September 12th, Mr. McMichael presented the proposed 2023 budgets, 2023 capital projects plan, and the 2023 bus replacement plan. The board discussed the proposals and authorized the administration to advertise for public hearings. Mr. McMichael, would you like to make any comments before we invite members of the public to offer input?
Yes, I would. These budgets and plans were all advertised in accordance with statute on the state website referred to as Gateway. It's really a state transparency website that these hearings were advertised on, and as well as copies of the bus replacement plan and the capital improvement plan. And so this is the opportunity for members of the public to make any comments they might want to make on either the budgets or the plans.
Okay, thank you. At this time, I will open hearing on the 2023 budgets and offer members of the public an opportunity to make comments.
Do I need to state my name? Yes, please. Great. Michelle Ball. In July 2019, the state sent a memo to all school officials regarding criteria for school safety referendums. Safety referendums may only be used to employ, compensate school resource officers, establish or fund school safety office, conduct a threat assessment, create or update a school safety plan, develop school emergency response systems, purchase safety equipment for school property, capital expenses to improve building safety, establish and administer programs to address mental health, anger management, school violence, professional development for teachers and school employees to improve school safety and reduce violence. Common theme, safety. In November 2019, CCS proposed a $40 million, 8-year school safety referendum. Dr. Beresford sold the safety referendum to the public, covering 3 areas: hiring SRO officers, mental health support, and teacher training. Carmel residents passed the safety referendum 3 years later, and we finally are fully staffed with our SRO officers. This past June, Roger McMichael confirmed in an email that the safety referendum also pays for the salary, benefits, and taxes of the DEI coordinator position at $110,000. Are we understanding this correctly? The state of Indiana details specifically that state safety referendums must support school safety. And Dr. Beresford stated safety initiatives were part of the safety referendum for Carmel. And yet, the CCS board approves the funds to support a non-safety administrative professional. Can the board please explain to the public why our safety referendum is supporting very expensive non-safety administrative positions? On the surface, this expenditure appears extremely unethical. Got 41 seconds. I yield to the board.
Colleen, let us know when the 41 seconds are up.
So you can't answer the question? Why are we supporting non-safety professionals?
Just point of order. This is a hearing. So in a hearing, you are able to address the board on the budget, which you're doing. But this is not a time for a discussion back and forth with the board and someone giving public comment.
That's great.
So-
When is
So
it a
at that
time
point in
for the
time,
public?
so that is your opportunity, is to give public comment. There will not be a back and forth discussion. So you could, if you'd like another 15 seconds or so, go ahead.
So when is that time then, that I can meet with the board to discuss this issue? Because I have requests with Katie.
Your time is over. So at this point, is there anyone else that would like to speak or make a public comment during this time frame on the budgets for 2023? Okay. Hearing none additional, I will close the hearing on the 2023 budgets and open a hearing regarding the 2023 capital projects plan and offer members of the public an opportunity to make comments on this topic. Hearing none, I will close the hearing on the 2023 capital projects plan and open a hearing regarding the 2023 bus replacement plan and offer members of the public an opportunity to make comments on this item. Hearing none, I will close the hearing on the 2023 bus replacement plan and reconvene the regular board meeting. We'll now move to the action items. First up is the JEL material course fee changes. Dr. Dudley, would you like to speak on that? Okay.
Yes, thank you. So this evening is recommended that you approve the course fee changes for our JEL courses. These fee changes are for this school year for our students that attend JEL in certain programming.
Thank you. May I have a motion to approve action item 6.1, JEL material course fee changes?
So moved.
May I have a second? Thank you, Mike. May I have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Layla. Is there any discussion?
Dr. Dudley, thank you. I was just wondering, when is the proposed opening of the Hamilton County co-op for the technical training going to begin?
Yes. So right now they're doing the paperwork to become the co-op, and so they're looking at moving that forward for the next year. As far as our students going there, we're still working out what will that look like as far as probably next year or the year after.
Okay. All right. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Jennifer. Additional discussion? We'll now take a vote. All in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Next up is the CCS School Handbooks 2022-2023. Dr. Ostrike, would you like to share?
Absolutely. We would move that you approve the 2022-2023 handbooks. At our previous meeting, Mr. Woodward presented. We gave some overviews of those changes, and we would like to move forward with your approval.
Thank you. May I have a motion to approve action item 6.2 CCS School Handbooks 2022-2023? Thank you, Layla. May I have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Jennifer. Is there any discussion? Okay. We'll now take a vote. All in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? All right, none. Motion carries. Next item on the agenda is adoption of policy 6450, small purchases. Dr. Dudley, could you share a little detail?
Yes, thank you. So at our August meeting, I shared with you the policy committee reviewed the policy 6450, small purchases. This review was done because of change in Indiana code. Mr. McMichael also reviewed the policy and made suggested changes to this policy. And the changes in it is purchases from food from youth agricultural education programming. And that's the change in that policy.
Thank you, Dr. Dudley. We will now take a vote. All in favor of the policy 6450 signify by saying aye. Oh, sorry, I forgot my motion. Yeah, let's do a motion. I'll get it together. May I have a motion to approve action item 6.3? Thank you, Layla. A second, please?
Second.
Thank you, Mike. Any discussion? None? Now we'll vote. All in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. That means none are opposed, so motion carries. Part up is the bid award for Carmel High School Performing Arts roof replacement. Mr. McMichael?
Thank you. This is a part of the Performing Arts renovation project and addition. And there were 17 bids that were solicited. 9 contractors picked up bidding documents, and 4 contractors submitted bids. And the low bid that is recommended is to Skyline Roofing and Sheet Metal in the amount of $233,333. So we would recommend your approval.
All right, let's go ahead and open this up for discussion. Okay, motion. I'm ready to discuss. Can I get a motion? Can I get a motion for approval?
So moved.
Thank you, Jennifer. Can I get a second? Second. Thank you, Layla. Do we have any discussion? Mike?
So, Roger, I assume since you have not told us otherwise that this came in within what we were expecting?
It did. Actually, it was lower than the estimate.
Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. McMichael, not to put you on the spot, you could share this later if you can, but it just came to my memory. So we had about 17 folks that submitted bids. Do we recall if we had any suppliers that would fall in the diverse supplier realm?
I don't know. We had 17 that we solicited bids from. We had 4 that bid, and I don't believe any of the 4 would fall into that category.
Okay, thank you. Any other discussion?
Mr. McMichael, do you know when we will, not we, my kids aren't there anymore, but when the high school will be able to use the auditorium?
I do. I don't remember the exact date, but I know that the upcoming performance will be in the gym because I don't know anybody that was very happy about that. And the next performance, it will be ready, and it is so close now that I'm highly confident that it will be ready.
Thank you, Layla. Additional discussion? Okay. We will now take a vote. All in favor, could we signify by saying aye? Aye. So unanimous, none opposed, motion carries. Next on the agenda are several change orders. Would the board like to take change order 6.5 for the Carmel High School Performing Arts addition and renovation, and change order 6.6 for Carmel High School Fieldhouse restrooms renovations, 6.7 educational services addition and remodeling, 6.8 Murray Soccer Stadium and Hartman Baseball Complex, and 6.9 Creekside Middle School finishes and renovations as a group? Yes, yes, okay. May I have a motion to approve items 6.5 through 6.9 on the agenda as a group? Thank you, Michael. May I have a second? Thank you, Layla. Is there any discussion? Mike?
So Roger, the ones that come back where we have unused allowance are some of my favorites. So we have a couple here, and I think it's just important to note that when we come in under budget, we get the funds back, and it also signifies that the project is close to completion. So thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mike. Additional discussion? Okay, we will now take a vote. All in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. So unanimous vote, none opposed, motion carries. Next on the agenda is discussion. We're going to look at these discussion items at this time. The first discussion item is the 2023-2024 Program of Studies. Dr. Dudley, can you share more?
Yes, thank you. So this evening for discussion, I bring before you the changes in the program of studies for Carmel High School. With the process we go through for the program of studies is we have a curriculum advisory committee that meets at the high school that reviews all of the possible course changes that are proposed by the different departments at the high school. And they share that information. They share information as far as the curriculum, materials necessary, interest of students that they are proposing. And then Dr. Ferris, myself, and Mrs. Peel take that into account, and then we bring before you the changes for the program of studies. And we're really excited. Each year we always look at making sure that we're offering courses that obviously our students need for graduation pathways, as well as courses that students are very interested in. And some of these courses come from student interest as well. But we're very excited. One of some of the highlights of the new courses that we're proposing is a new career and technical education pathway, criminal justice. And so we're proposing to offer that complete CTE pathway for our students. We have some of our students currently take that at JEL, and we're proposing that we offer that pathway here at Carmel High School. And I know we have many students who are excited about that, as well as Dr. Beresford met with our chief of police, and he was also very excited for that partnership as well. So I think that is a very exciting one. We also are offering a capstone for construction trades and automotive capstone, and this will offer our students in those pathways an opportunity to have that hands-on internship opportunities in the real-world settings. So we're excited about those possible courses. A modification to our early childhood education pathway. Right now, the early childhood education pathway is a dual credit through Ivy Tech, but it is regular weight course. We are proposing a modification where we have a dual credit through Ball State University, where the students would take the same course if they were on the Ball State campus, and it would be a full weighted course for our students in that early childhood pathway. We also are proposing a couple of new AP courses. One is AP Music Theory, which our students are very excited about taking. We think we'll have a very high demand for that course, as well as AP African American Studies. Currently, we offer African American Studies. The AP African American Studies it's a pilot program through AP that we've proposed that we would like to participate in that pilot. We'll find out in October from College Board if we are able to participate, but we wanted to make sure it was in the program of studies if we are, because we wanted to offer that for next year. And we did meet Dr. Beresford, Dr. Ostrike, and myself had the opportunity to meet with different student groups last week. And that was actually one of the courses that they were proposing. They were saying we would be very interested in offering this. And I said, well, good news, I'm proposing it to the board next week. So it was a perfect timing. And then another course that we're very excited about offering is our Language for Heritage Speakers of Spanish. And this is a course for students that are heritage speakers of Spanish, that they have the opportunity to work on their biliteracy. So they can continue, they are already native speakers of Spanish, and so they are taking Spanish where they can work on their reading, their writing, and as well as developing their speaking so they're biliterate in both English and in Spanish. And so we're excited about offering that course too, and we think we'll have many students that will be interested in taking that.
Thank you, Dr. Dudley. I am extremely excited about this expanded offering. I've heard feedback from a number of people in the community around, an opportunity to continue to offer even more technical opportunities to students because, many of our students decide to go into a technical background coming out of Carmel High School, and they don't always go into college. And so we want to be able to provide them with what they need to be successful in their area of interest. So expanding these offerings is great. And then also, I'm just excited as we continue to increase our number of AP courses. So just thank you so much. Additional discussion, questions for Dr. Dudley? Layla?
So, Dr. Dudley, you'd mentioned we have criminal justice that we're adding to our CTE graduation pathways, as well as construction trades.
So the construction trades is already a pathway. We are adding the capstone course, so the final course.
Okay. Are there any other pathways that we are looking to add, maybe the following year, things that JTE currently has? Because I did notice several of the new courses or the price changes with JTE were all law enforcement and criminal justice. Right. So I'm excited that we are now offering that. But are there others that your team is looking into to bring to the high school?
So right now we're looking at our students that are currently taking courses at JEL and students that have taken them in the past and seeing, what is the interest for our students? And so we'll continue to gauge that. Right now, I don't have anything right on the radar because we're still investigating how do we make sure we meet the needs of our students that have those interests in the different pathways.
Is it possible that we have several students who would consider taking these courses, they just don't want to go that way, they don't want the commute, and they much prefer that they would, if we do offer something that doesn't perhaps have a huge interest at JEL for our students, but offering it in-house, that would be a different dynamic that would increase our percentage of participants?
Yes, that is actually the case for the criminal justice. We have many students, we believe, that have expressed an interest in that, but because of the JEL schedule, it has taken up too much of their time. So we do have some students at JEL that take the criminal justice pathway, but we believe we'll have many more students that are interested in that pathway because it'll be much more convenient here.
Okay, are we doing any surveys of students at the high school to see what, just to gauge interest, to give us some guidance as to how we want to pursue efforts in incorporating additional classes at the high school?
So at the current time, we're not doing surveys per se, but as we continue to work with our different student groups, as we continue to talk with our students, as counseling works with our students, we collect that information to say what would be the interest, and then also our department chairs in all of our departments work with, how can we continue to offer courses that students have that interest.
That's a great question and suggestion, Layla. I was wondering too, how do we continue to get the feedback and interest and input from students on how we could continue to expand? So thank you for sharing that, Dr. Dudley.
One comment would be we definitely would need people in funeral service. I don't know how we can see if we can incorporate new lines like that, but I know that we're having a lot of difficulty hiring people, so that might be something that people find of interest, and perhaps there would be a partnership with Ivy Tech through that, if I could be of any service in that realm. I wanted to just ask about the AP classes that we're adding, the 2 music theory and African American studies. I believe now that would bring us up to 56.
I'm not sure.
Okay.
I'd have to count.
So
We do
how
have
does,
quite a bit.
So I believe it's 56. So if we have 56 AB classes, how does that stack up against other schools in the state in terms of the AP course load that we're able to offer?
I couldn't give you exact numbers now, but we do offer quite a bit more AP courses than many schools in the state. And one of the reasons is because we do have the number of students that take our AP classes. And I was just looking at some data, I want to say we have close to 70% of our students that take at least one AP class and the AP testing. And that number continues to grow every single year for our students. Because our AP courses, we have a few AP courses in the 9th grade year, and they have opportunities in 10th, 11th, and 12th grade. So we do have quite a full realm menu for students to choose from for different AP courses that they're interested in.
Thank you very much, Dr. Dudley.
Yeah, I was just speaking with a student, a senior, last night who is focused on criminal justice, and she's doing it through JEL, and she speaks very highly of the program. So it's exciting that we're going to be offering it at our school. She's planning to go into FBI. So, like, hey, that's nice. All right. Any additional discussion? Okay. Thank you so much, Dr. Dudley. Next, we'll have the first reading of the following bylaws. Bylaw 0100, Bylaw 0110, Bylaw 0121, Bylaw 0121, Bylaw 0122, Bylaw 0123, Bylaw 0131.1, Bylaw 032.1, Bylaw 0132.2, and Bylaw 0133. Dr. Dudley.
Yes, thank you. So the policy committee reviewed all of the board bylaws, and we're bringing them in chunks to you. These bylaws, it sounds like a lot of bylaws that we're bringing to you, but really the ones that this first round that we're bringing to you is the changes are very minimal. They're more formatting changes. There are a few minor edits with wording. Just to get all of the wording consistent in the bylaws. It does not change any of the meanings of the bylaws, and you had the opportunity to look through them, but you can see, like, for example, where we defined Carmel Clay Schools, defined it as CCS, and then in all of the other parts where bylaws where it said Carmel Clay Schools, we put CCS. We made it consistent where it said in some of the bylaws it said school board, in all of them now it's consistent to say board. And so it was just more of the consistency, but there were no substantive changes in those bylaws that we're bringing to you this evening.
Thank you. Are there any questions or discussion for these bylaws? Mike?
Well, I'd like to thank Dr. Dudley for leading the policy committee. We did, as she said, go through all of the bylaws. As in the past, we've gone through all the policies to make sure that they're consistent in what we're doing. And as she said, one of the things we focused on was to make sure we had consistent language all through the documents, since bylaws have been added, over time as needed. We also wanted to make sure that they were consistent with how we do business and how state laws require us to do business. So if you look at these red lines, like Dr. Dudley said, these first bylaws are the introductory bylaws, and so there's nothing where we really changed a lot. But as we move through the rest of the bylaws, there will probably be some where there'll be more discussion.
Thank you, Mike. I'd like to second that thank you to the policy committee and Dr. Dudley. I know it's time consuming to review them and get input and alignment, so I appreciate the effort. It's two of our board members that are part of the policy committee, correct?
Correct.
Yes. Additional questions or discussion? Okay. Next, we're going to move on to the student data report. Dr. Dudley, you have more time.
Thank you. So this evening, I would like to introduce Mrs. Ramona Rice. She is one of our supervisors of learning, and she oversees our world language programming. She conducted a world language program evaluation as well as materials adoption, curriculum development, and she's here to give you a short update on the work that our world language department has been doing. So Mrs. Rice.
Yes, thank you. Good evening. I'm excited to share with you all about some of the recent happenings in our world language program. First, I'm going to provide a little bit of an update on our program evaluation process that we went through in 2021, and I'll share with you the 4 major recommendations that came out of that work. Then I'll share a little bit about the work we did last year in 21-22 with curriculum mapping and our materials adoption process, and also share about some of the professional development that we had during that time. And then I'll share with you about our implementation in year 1 for this year. We'll talk a little bit about how we're onboarding those materials, curriculum refinement, and also some of the professional development that we'll be offering our teachers. So I know that you are all familiar with our district process for program evaluation, which all of our academic areas go through this process every 6 years. And in 2021, in spite of a global pandemic and the hybrid learning environment that our students and teachers were in at our secondary level and wearing masks, we had a group of high school and middle school teachers and administrators who came together in a committee and took our world language program through that program evaluation process. Now, as you may recall, in this process, we always begin by thinking about our current program and what it's doing well. And then we think about where we would like it to go. So to get a picture of what we want the future program to look like, we spent a lot of time looking at the Indiana Academic Standards. We looked at the National World Readiness Standards. We spent a lot of time looking at some research, actually from 1982, by Dr. Stephen Krashen on second language acquisition theory. And then we looked at more current research that has really just kind of bolstered his work from back in the 80s. We looked at our previous program evaluation as well. And then we started diving into the data. We looked at our 5-year enrollment trends, some of our demographic data. We looked at our assignment scores and course grades, our AP scores. And actually, some of the most interesting data that we got back was through student and teacher survey responses. We had 1,600 students respond to some survey questions that we had for them, as well as 30 teachers and administrators who participated as well. So once we go through all of this information, then we start to look for gaps. And what are the things that we want to dream about our future, and then fill in those gaps by formulating recommendations. So I'm going to share those 4 major recommendations with you now. Our first recommendation was around curriculum, and our curriculum should leverage student interest to increase engagement in language learning and develop global competency skills. Now, as you know, and this may be true for your experience as well, the reasons that students want to study a language is because they want to communicate with other people who speak that language, right? Maybe this is because they want to travel to that country, or maybe it's because they know someone from that culture. Perhaps they're interested in global issues or humanitarian concerns, or they want to study finance and banking in that culture. But the reasoning behind it is always interpersonal. They want to communicate with someone. And so we want to have a program that leverages that desire for engagement with the culture, because we know that this makes our students better global citizens, and it prepares them better for the future for both their college experience as well as their careers. So this leads us directly then to our second recommendation, which is all about our instructional practice. Instruction should guide learners to develop competence to communicate effectively and with cultural understanding. We've identified some of our CCS core instructional practices for world language learning. And really, these instructional practices are the heart and soul of our future program. And I think that something that will really help us understand these instructional shifts is to think about how our own children acquired language. So if you think back to that time, at first, you did all of the talking, right? You used, and you provided all of the input. You used facial expressions, and you used gestures, and you used pictures, and maybe you sang songs to them. And your child likely made sounds or facial expressions back to you, or they babbled at you, and they gooed and gawed at you. But for the most part, you were providing all of that input. But over time, as you continue to provide that meaningful input to them, they began to produce language. First a word, and then a phrase, and then sentences, and then some of them started talking and talking and talking, right? And we're happy for that, because the more that they have input from you, the more that they are able to produce that output. So this is true in the way that we acquire a second language as well. So the same holds true also for grammar instruction. We did not explicitly teach our children present and past tense verbs. We did not give them long lists of vocabulary to memorize. They learned how to use those language structures over time, as they needed them in order to communicate their message. And we also didn't correct every mistake when they would write grandma that thank you letter, right? We didn't get out our red pen and mark it up and give it back to them. We expected those mistakes as part of the natural process, and in fact, we welcomed those mistakes as part of the learning. So as we move into our new instructional practices, our teachers will introduce grammar concepts within the context of interactions, and vocabulary will be added over time as students engage in communicative tasks. The teacher feedback is intended to support students as they become more and more proficient in their use of the language. So there'll be less focus on error correction, on spelling mistakes, on grammar and conjugations, because those mistakes are to be expected as we're acquiring language. So these instructional shifts will lead to our next recommendation, which has to do with the way that students are assessed. So assessments should be proficiency-based, reflecting what students know and can do with the language. So in keeping with those instructional shifts, which are focused on providing students lots of opportunities to listen and speak in the target language, our assessments will be those that provide our students with real-world opportunities to use the language. Sometimes this will be in rehearsed scenarios. Sometimes these will be more spontaneous. That would be similar to the experiences they might have as a traveler somewhere in the world. We will shift away from tests over long lists of vocabulary and verb conjugations because the research just doesn't support this as the way we actually acquire language and become proficient in using it. Some of you are ready to celebrate. Recommendation 4 then is that our teachers should have job-embedded opportunities for collaboration and learning that supports understanding and development of those best practices. So I'll share a little bit more with you about the professional learning opportunities here in just a moment. But I want to move on to the next step of the timeline, which is our curriculum mapping process that we went through last year and materials adoption. Most of our committee members who served on our program evaluation committee wanted to continue working this past year on curriculum maps and materials, which was wonderful. And our first task was to really dig into the state and national standards and to prioritize those standards by level. So what is appropriate for students to be learning at level 1, what level 2, level 3? So what's best for our novice learners, our more intermediate learners, and then our advanced learners? So we prioritized those standards. Then we identified themes and essential questions. So what will they actually be talking about if we're creating these communicative tasks? What will they be talking about? And we wanted to have those key things in place before we started working on materials adoption, because we really wanted to be sure that we were selecting materials and resources that supported the recommendations and that had the priorities that we wanted inside of them. So somewhat concurrently with our materials adoption process, or with the curriculum, sorry, we went through this materials adoption as well. And the first thing you have to do is develop an evaluation tool that will help you as you're selecting these resources. So then our teachers had an opportunity to spend quite a bit of time from November through March looking at these sample resources, piloting those resources in their class and making selections. They then made recommendations to you back last spring. Now this process included all 38 of our world language teachers. We have 8 languages that we offer at our middle school and our high school, and some of these have up to level 5. We have AP and IB courses. So this whole process, we adopted more than 80 unique materials, including textbooks. There's a wonderful balance of textbooks, digital resources, collections, novellas, readers, magazines, trade books. We have some classroom sets of books that were written by native speakers for native speakers, and our students are reading those in some of our classes. So it was a great job of selecting resources that would support our work with acquisition. So now we are ready to talk a little bit about our implementation this year. We are in year 1, so we are continuing to onboard those resources as teachers use them and become familiar with them. And as they do that, then we have to go back and kind of refine our curriculum maps and add those resources into the maps, as well as develop our assessments. I'm very excited about some of the professional development opportunities we have. Over the past 2 years, we've been using a book called the Big CI book, and CI is for comprehensible input. So it gives our teachers lots and lots of strategies for how to get that input into their classroom in engaging ways. And our teachers had monthly book studies with us where they would come in, they would demonstrate the strategies, and they would go back to their classrooms and practice those, and then come back and collaborate around those. We're going to be studying this year a little bit more about second language acquisition theory in this book called Common Ground. And then our teachers, it'll really ground them in the research, but then also give them lots of practical strategies into their toolkit that they can use in their classrooms. And finally, I'm most excited about 2 half-day professional development opportunities that we're going to have for our teachers this year to work with Jill Warner. She is the former IDOE global language specialist, and she is going to come and work with us specifically on proficiency-based instructional strategies, as well as those proficiency-based assessments, and helping our teachers really understand what proficiency looks like at the different levels. So she'll be with us both in October and in April. So that is a whirlwind update of world language, and I would be happy to answer any questions that you might have.
Sorry about that. Yeah. I was interested in knowing more about the trade books that we provide to native speakers. Where could parents learn more about what books we have available to students? Is that just like in the libraries? What?
No, these were classroom sets of books that were adopted, which
Okay.
you adopted. You approved those back in April or May, whenever that was.
Okay.
So, for example, we have, and I'm not going to be able to pronounce the titles because they're in German and Spanish, but they are books that are at appropriate level for a beginning learner.
Okay.
Okay. But they are books that are very popular in the countries that they come from.
Okay, thank you. And then do we offer any opportunities for students to go abroad through maybe the high school program?
We do have a number of opportunities through the honors program at IU and also through some other organizations that reach out to our students. Our world language teachers do a lot of promoting. They organize trips. We had a group go to Costa Rica last year. We had a group go to France last year. So we do have a lot of students who travel, particularly in the summertime, to various countries. Typically our teachers organize those, but there are some other organizations that we travel with as well.
How would parents and students learn more about those opportunities?
Well, I think we put them out on social media occasionally. Our teachers, they certainly have them on the announcements at the school.
Okay.
And I think some of them are through the different clubs that they travel with. They have different student clubs that they organize those as well, those trips.
Thank you.
And I'll just chime in that the foreign language teachers that my students had shared the information in the classroom. So they came home and asked, and we didn't, but they could have.
Okay. Thank you. Additional questions from the board?
I don't really have a question. I'm just so excited. We were in Quebec this summer, and so I've decided to renew my interest in French. And this would have been lovely because this isn't what I had. I had to read the Petit Prince. So I'm really excited for our students.
Thank you, Layla. Additional questions, discussion?
I think I like the fact, although it may seem counterintuitive, about the change in the way of teaching and acquiring the language with less emphasis on the conjugation. My daughter has been living in Italy for the last year and a half, and so it's amazing how much language she has brought in basically through this type of system. So she's just speaking for long periods of time, trying to grasp the language, and certainly she makes many mistakes, I would assume. But just through the constant repetition, and then her ear becomes more accustomed to hearing the words in the correct way. And I think that is a very positive way, especially for either for all types of students who may get too nervous to even try to say anything because they're constantly being reminded that they've made some mistakes, which then maybe inhibits them more than challenges them as a child would when they're learning language. So I think I really applaud this new induction. Thank you.
Thank you, Jennifer. And thank you for the report.
Thank you.
Next, we'll have the monthly financial update by Mr. McMichael.
Thank you. I think we'll get it pulled up here in a second. There we go.
Okay.
So we're through the month of August on the report. I'll start with the education referendum and rainy day funds. As you know, we combine those because they're used in a very similar fashion. We're ending August with a $11.5 million cash balance, and that's about where we would expect to be. If you compare this to last year, see that last year by August we were at $5 million, so there's quite a bit of difference there, but that is primarily explained by the fact that last year we had 3 pays in July, as you can see, and this year the third pay, the second third pay will be was this month, and so you'll see that'll be and a payroll is about $3 million, so you'll see that reflected next month, and also you'll see later that our rainy day fund this year has about $2.5 million of cash balance, and last year it was about zero because we had just paid out what we call a COVID stipend. And so those are 2 primary reasons. And so we're actually about on track with where we would expect to be. And as I generally comment, because a portion of our revenue is from the local referendum, and that's property tax dollars, so we receive that twice, most of that twice a year when people pay their taxes. But most of these expenses and these funds are, excuse me, personnel and salary and benefits, which of course are going out every 2 weeks. And so the balance typically begins to go down until we get to toward May and June, and then goes back up, and then it'll do the same thing as we get close to December. Going on to our operations fund, again, this fund's difficult to repair or compare from one year to the next because of this fund is used for a lot of different things, including maintenance of facilities and other non-personnel type things and construction and so forth. And so the payout on those projects varies from one year to the next. But you can see for this August, we have a current balance of $2.3 million, and then last year it was 2.7. So they happen to be pretty close together. But it's not as, the comparison is not as reliable as the other funds. And then, as I said, you see here our rainy day fund this year has about 2.4 million cash balance, and last year at the same time, actually we were just had a slight negative balance. So that would conclude my report. I would answer questions if you have them.
Thank you, Mr. McMichael. Does the board have any questions or discussion? Okay. With that, we will go to the next agenda item. Actually, does the board have any reports they'd like to share? No? Okay. We will go ahead and transition to Dr. Beresford. Would you like to go ahead and share your superintendent's report?
Absolutely. It's been a great night. It's always fun to see the place packed. I want to give a shout out to the scouts who are here. And you are, I know this is probably for a government badge or something like that, but also you're showing great perseverance for being here till the end. So we love to have you guys here, and appreciate that, and I want to give you a little shout out. Speaking of shout outs, we are celebrating this week our custodial and maintenance staff. So this is Appreciation Week for those guys and gals, and they just do a tremendous job. First off, keeping the place running, but also keeping it shiny. And if you haven't seen much of the construction around, we always get our buildings dirty every day, but with the construction stuff, sometimes it can get a little intense. But you walk out at night and it's not looking good, and then you come in the morning and it's shiny. And so really appreciate our crews that work it. And of course we're heading towards winter, and so it won't be long before the snow starts blowing. And there's only a few people out in the morning driving the roads. It's me and a couple of guys we call the snow hounds. And then all of our maintenance and custodial people, they're there digging out at, in the middle of the night, just so we can have school. So anyhow, if you run into any of our custodial maintenance folks, throw them some love, because they do a wonderful job here in Carmel Clay. I also want to throw my own personal congratulations to the National African American and National Hispanic Scholars we recognized. It's pretty amazing to have so many students, that are being recognized for a national level award. And to see that table full of certificates over there is really something special. And I know I kind of did a spoiler alert last time about the National Merit Scholars, but I do want to say it out loud, that we did have 56 National Merit Scholars. I know we give out that big number every year, but I want to make sure you understand how difficult that really is. These are kids that work extremely hard and take extremely challenging courses of study, and of course score extremely high on extremely difficult tests. So that doesn't happen by accident. It's just pretty amazing. And I know there's been a lot of descriptions about what 56 represents, but literally that's more than a lot of states in the United States have in their whole state, and at Carmel High School. So pretty amazing. So a big shout out for those kids that are working so hard. I also want to do a shout out to all of our PTO volunteers. As you know, this is fundraisers, season. So there's a lot of action going on. There's 5Ks, there's pies in the face, there's all kinds of crazy incentives, and a lot of it has to do with doing something to administrators. They're like a target for some reason or another. But anyhow, there's a lot of stuff going on, a lot of fun, crazy incentives, and anyhow, I want to thank everybody else that donates to the PTO, because the PTO brings the WAG. When we talk about WAG more and bark less, they bring the WAG, and they bring it fast and hard, and they do things to really pick up, the whole, they just can pick up the school and make it such a positive thing for staff and students. So really appreciate all the work our PTO folks do. We had our coordinating council meeting with all the PTO presidents. So we had and it was a nice mix of folks that have been PTO presidents for more than a decade, and then folks that came in and said, I signed up to be in the PTO, and all of a sudden now I'm an officer. And so, but it was a really good meeting, so we appreciate that. Want to throw a good luck out to our girls golf team, who are going to be competing for a state title on Friday and Saturday. I don't think they need luck. I think they just need to do what they do, because they've been pretty dominant this year, but it's golf. So you never know what's going to happen, and if it's a windy day or not, but really feel good about our girls' chances, and they've been just delightful all year long. And with that, a lot of our fall sports are winding down. I think on my calendar I was looking, there's a lot of sectionals going on at the end of this week. So this is when we transition from the regular season to championship season, when all the pressure comes up, and it's always fun to watch our kids doing what they love to do out on those fields. And win or lose, we love them, because they're just doing what they do and trying as hard as they can. I think you already alluded to it, but our first choir concert of the year is Thursday, so a couple of days. And I'm going on record saying that will be the last concert held in the gym. And did get to do a sneak peek in the auditorium. It looks so much better. And so anyhow, we're looking forward to that opening, but also looking forward just to seeing our kids perform. And I'm looking forward to the big show, and if you can get a ticket and get that night off, I'd go. All right. So then today, was kind of interesting. This is kind of a surprise for Emily Bauer over there because she took a crew of yearbook photographers out today, and they went to different schools and they just did photo shoots all over the place. There's like 30 of them that were out there. There's a big number. I don't remember how many. How many was there? 100? See, almost 30. Like, yeah, math. There's there's like three kinds of people with math: those that can count and those that can't. But anyhow, she took him out, and not only did she do that above and beyond the Call of Duty, she had to like get certified to drive the bus, the little activity bus. So she's now an activity bus driver. And but yeah, it's kind of cool for our kids to get to just go out and do a photo shoot all over the district. And then I'm sure you're gonna be seeing some of those photos, maybe in the walls around here and in different publications. So we got a lot of talented photographers at the high school, and they do some amazing work. So anyhow, shout out to Emily and for all that. And then I finally have the bell ringer. And this is going to be a different bell ringer than you're used to, I think, because we want to throw a huge congratulations out to high school alumni, class of 2019, Morgan Taylor Kuntz. And what happened with Morgan is that she was on The Voice last night, and all four judges turned their seats around, and they all wanted Morgan on their team. So I don't know a whole lot about The Voice, but I watched the film clip of it. And then after they all turned around, she had to choose who she wanted to be her coach. So these four super famous people are like, they want Morgan. And she says, I'm from Carmel, Indiana. I'm currently in Nashville. And so she's a shining star at Carmel Choir Department for 4 years, and she's continued to study music. She's at Belmont in Nashville. And so anyhow, she's remarkable talent. And so she's on The Voice, and she picks John Legend. So our Morgan is going to work with John Legend as she goes through this she goes through this process. So you can see her performance online, so get online and see that. It's going to be exciting to watch her this season, and I hope everyone will tune in and vote for her. So, because I think there's like one element of the thing is that you got to vote, they get a vote and that sort of thing. Yeah. And but if you watch that video, she just blew it up. She blew it up. It was an amazing, amazing thing. So it doesn't really matter though whether it's through The Voice or not. This girl's destined to be a star. She's destined for starment. So congratulations to Morgan Taylor Kuntz and her parents. I got choked up more from the parents' reaction to they're standing, they got a camera on them, and then the first seat goes around like after like 1 second. The country western guy just flips it around. And then it's like boom, boom, two more go. And then one's kind of waiting. And the parents are just like, they're just losing it. And then the last one comes around, and it was just, it was just super cool for their family. I can't imagine how great that would be. So congratulations to them. And this is the kind of crazy talent we see in our amazing students here at Carmel High School and in our district. So you'll check out the current group on Thursday night at the choir concert, and you never know who's on that stage. Could end up being, on The Voice or on Broadway or somewhere. So, and that concludes my report. That's my bell ringer. Way to go, Morgan. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Beresford, for your report. So just want to say a thank you to everyone who attended, those that were recognized. One more shout out to the Scouts. Thank you for those who made public comment as well, and those that prepared to share today. Our next meeting is going to be Monday, October 10th. Fall break is Thursday, October 13th, and Friday, October 14th. Our regular session board meeting is Monday, October 24th. If there is no other business to come before the board, may I have a motion to adjourn? Thank you, Layla. A second? Second. Michael, meeting is adjourned at, what time is it? 8:20. We made it.